Hey guys, welcome to the next video in our ongoing series about the JUMC streaming instructional series. Today we're going to talk, it's our second video on how to create the slides. So if you recall, the person is creating the slides during the week that get shown on Sunday on Sunday service, and we're going to go through a little bit more detail on how to create those slides. So if you recall from the last video, we were, whoops, I did that last time too. If you recall from the last video, excuse me, we were looking at this Excel spreadsheet, and we had gone through creating the pre-service announcements and the opening slide. Today, we're going to go through and bring in the in-service announcements, which is almost identical, and we're going to edit the worship leader title, and we're going to add the opening hymn, and possibly the prayer song, depending on how much time it takes us to do these things. So let's begin by going back to ProPresenter, and recall we had just done the opening slide, and both looked at how to change the background of the opening slide, and also how to change the text on the opening slide. And then we keep going down here. We have this sort of announcements in-service announcements. So you'll notice the in-service announcements presentation here, and we're going to that's interesting. I expected this to be a different presentation, but that's all right. So we're going to bring in the in-service announcements for February 2nd. We go up to File, and we say, File, Import from PowerPoint. And you recall in our notes, let's go back to the notes here. In our notes, it says the in-service announcements are authored by the pastor. He puts them in Dropbox. He stores them he stores them as a PowerPoint presentation, and then we bring them in to ProPresenter, and we can do this on Friday or Saturday. So the pastor typically updates the announcements on Friday or Saturday, and we can bring them in at that time. Back to ProPresenter. Here's the Dropbox, and I'm going to remind us where it is in Dropbox. So if you choose Dropbox and you go to Image Team, you'll find 2021 images, and in there you'll find a bunch of presentations. The one that we want are the in-service announcements for the date that you're looking for. So in this case, it's 2021, February 7th, in-service announcements. So we're going to go ahead and open that, and it will bring in the in-service announcements. Now we're going to put it in the library called Weekly, because these things change weekly, and I couldn't think of a more clever name, although I wish I had remembered to spell it right. And we're going to go ahead and overwrite the other weekly announcements. And now we can, if we look up into the weekly library, you'll find that the in-service announcements that we just brought in are here. And we're going to right-click on that, and we're going to say Copy. And we're going to go down to our service, to the playlist that we're in the service, and we're going to find in the playlist exactly where we want to be. In this case, it's in-service announcements, and we're going to right-click, and we're going to say Paste. And what that's going to do is it's going to paste the in-service announcements under the one that I just pasted, under the one that I have selected. So this is the one that I had just pasted in, the 2021 February 7th in-service announcements, and we're going to delete the 2021 January 31st in-service announcements. So I'm going to use my delete key on my keyboard to do that. But you can also right-click and select delete as well. So now these in-service announcements are done, and before we move on to the next thing, I just want to check to make sure it works. So in all cases, when I check to make sure these work, I want to go up to the first slide. Sometimes there's a announcements first slide or hymn first slide. So you always want to use that to set the formatting, and then in the announcements, you just want to make sure that the announcements work appropriately. So I'm using my arrow keys to switch between the different slides, and they're showing up both in the house and on the stream exactly as they should. So we can now go back to Excel, and we can say, oh, we just did the in-service announcements. We're happy with that. We turn it green. The next thing on our list is the worship leader title slide. So I'm going to show you how to go ahead and do that. So the first thing we do is we go down to the worship leader title slide. This is the organist title slide. If the organist were to change one week, we would want to change that. Where is the worship leader's title slide here? Might be elsewhere in the service. So, originally in the service we had the worship leader title earlier, but it doesn't matter. We can just find it in the service here. So the worship leader does the prayer of dedication, and you'll notice here, worship leader title slide right here. So in this case, the worship leader's title is Jerry Pfeiffer. We can change this by right-clicking on the slide and going to Edit Slide. And you then, now this is interesting, you don't select and delete, because then that text box is no longer there. So we're going to undo that, and we're going to click in the text box, and we can say the worship leader is, I think next week's worship leader is my wife, Grace Thera. And then once you've done that, you've just changed the worship leader's title slide, and everywhere in the presentation that the worship leader's title slide shows up, it will be changed to Grace Thera. So when we edited the slide, we went into the slide editor, which is here. So when you're done editing the slide, you go back to the show, and let's go ahead and check to see if it works. So if we click on this, it will load the background in the house, and it will load the green background for the stream, which is the chroma key that'll be taken out for the stream. And then if we go to the next slide, it brings up the worship leader's title. You see it comes up briefly over here. In 5 seconds, it goes away, and we can go on with the service. So we just finished the worship leader's title slide. So we can go ahead and change that to green. Good work. The next is the opening hymn. And I think I'm going to end this video here, and we're going to start with the opening hymn in the next video.